Later on in the game, there were a couple instances where I thought Hubbard showed a lot of growth from the season that he built last year in two specific scenarios. And here we have 1st and 10 inside of the Bengals red zone. Seahawks are driving, trying to take the lead now. Where they're in 2-minute drill, and the Bengals were in their 4-man front nickel personnel with Hubbard as the defensive tackle. This is the grouping that you're going to see when the Bengals are playing against a team or going into their 4-minute or 2-minute offenses where they're going to pass the ball 90 or 100% of the time. And Hubbard is going to be your defensive tackle next to Geno Atkins. And Hubbard inside last year did not do very well, not only as a run defender, which I didn't expect him to do well in the first place, but as a pass rusher. I expected a lot more from him last year in that role. And unfortunately, he just didn't deliver compared to what he was outside. So him really stepping up as an interior pass rusher this season is crucial for this defense and this unit when they're in 3rd down or when they're in 2-minute drill for their defense. And this was one of the very first plays that he got, or at least on this drive, one of the very first instances he got to really rush the passer here and show off an improved process from, rushing that B gap or A gap or wherever he is aligned up. And this was honestly a good rep from Hubbard. Wilson was dealing with pressure not only from him, but also in front of him with Carl Lawson, who was using some inside power against Dwayne Brown. God, look at that explosion right there. Like that's a fluid rusher, man. Like when you're so accustomed to attacking that outside, you have the tackle overstepping a little bit and just exploding back inside, using that power to go through both the tackles and guards. I'm getting off topic. We're talking about Hubbard here. And honestly, when I saved this play, I didn't realize that the right guard, DJ Fluker, just didn't give two craps about Hubbard rushing this A-gap. I guess he thought that the center was gonna take him, and maybe it was some form of a zone protection for that offensive line. But even if Fluker didn't really open his hips here and was essentially defending Carlos Dunlap here, I still think Hubbard would have won with this move that he sets up. He starts by taking that one step towards the outside to really open up Fluker's hips. Again, if Fluker was paying attention to him, he knows that he was going to get, if anything, some type of strike towards this inside pec, this inside shoulder pad. So immediately he opens up back his frame and attacks that inside shoulder to really soften that blow if it ever came, and it never really did. Dips his shoulders, does a completely effective swim move, explodes through coming off of that move, getting that explosion through that gap. So now the center is essentially B2. He's late to recover, and unfortunately I don't think it was really his fault, but he's able to get easy penetration here. So now Wilson is dealing with blindside pressure and pressure in his face, just forces the ball to Metcalf a little bit too early on this fader out. Later in the game, the next quarter, we have Hubbard back on the edge here, up against the right tackle. And, rushing with speed and flexibility and bend is something that Hubbard did really well at Ohio State. It's something he did really well towards the end of last year. But I do think that he's kind of built off that process as well. There was a karate movie, I believe, back in the day called Sweep the Leg. I think it was named after a song, too. I don't really know what it's about. I'm sure you guys can attack me in the comments if you want. But that's essentially what I'm going to phrase this technological term here for what Hubbard did. Again, he's not tremendously explosive off the snap. He is very fast and very fluid as a mover, but doesn't gain a ton of ground in the first 3 steps. And when you're trying to rush off the arc here and bend around the edge, you need that initial burst to really get an edge over the tackle here. But the tackle is in pretty good position to really rush or just move Hubbard around the arc and take him out of the play. But look at that right leg sweep across his left leg, sweep across his body, and get him in perfect position to, at the top of the arc, dip down his waist, dip at the angles, and bend around the edge and finish. That's so savvy for an already fluid athlete in Hubbard to really gain that extra ground after not really exploding and putting the offensive tackle in a bind. But just in that one instance, he gets the tackle reaching, and we're going to see on this other angle what exactly he does with his hands to create the space for this move to pay off in the end in the form of his second sack of the day. He's already aligned in that wide 7-tech alignment, again from a 4-point stance. and he gets inside hands early. And all this does is that he's not going to bull rush him. He can set up the bull rush if he wants, but he's in perfect position to, create space with his extension, with his inside hands, to make sure that, he's not being touched when he's kind of pull off this rip move. That's exactly what he does. Extension, drop that inside arm, rip it up towards the outside, create space on the edge to soften that edge, to really allow his bend to take over and flatten towards the quarterback for a sack.